Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Minecraft update video. Pre-release free for 1.16 is out, and in this video we're also going to be talking about two big changes to farms that are going to take place in future versions of Minecraft. But if you look at Iscal's Golden XP farm that's taking place right now on your screen, you might notice I'm not actually picking up any additional XP at the moment, and that is one of the changes that will happen in a future update of Minecraft. I should also mention that pre-release 2 came out just after pre-release 1. All it had was some critical bug fixes in it, basically making the game more stable for people who are testing it and helping Mojang develop this game. Speaking of which, pre-release 3 has quite a few changes that you'll want to know about, and an absolutely enormous amount of bugs, of which I picked out the most important ones to discuss in this video. So first of all, when you're creating a new world to show off the new features in pre-release 3, in game rules, some of the descriptions here have been expanded so they can have more than one single line. If we scroll through here, you can see that some of these have descriptions of what exactly the game rules do. So in this game, you're able to cook food on the campfire. However, if it's unlit, you wouldn't have been able to cook it, but in this update, you can now actually put food on an unlit campfire, and then when you light it up, it starts cooking. If you unlight it in the cooking process, though, it pops off. And also in this game we have the offhand, and you can swap what's in your offhand by pressing F, and this didn't work in the creative screen, but now you can actually interact from your inventory with this, not just the creative screen. So anywhere in my inventory I can now press F and swap like that. One thing I've noticed though, it messes up if you're typing something in here and you press F, then all of a sudden it highlights all the text, so it needs fixing when you're searching for items. There is a new block that can be composted, and that is the shroom light, and after doing some crude testing, it seems to be about 2/3 of a chance of putting one of these here and filling up a layer. This next change sounds kind of fascinating, but visibility under lava should be better when you're drinking fire resistance. So let's just go and look at these blocks. We have to be right up in front of it to see it, okay? Now let's step out, drink the fire resistance potion, go back under again, and look at that, we can actually just see it from a little further away. So you've got about an extra 1 to 2 blocks of visibility. That seems like a good idea. Also in survival, yeah, the change is basically the same in survival as well. Very cool, I like that. And here I am typing in game mode creative, game mode survival. I can use F3 and N, and the description of what that does has been updated, and that's obviously because of this menu that was recently added. So this next change is to get around an exploit with taking the loot from the piglins. As you know, they guard their gold and they protect their loot, and if I were to open this chest, it would alert them to my presence. Well, you could have also just broken that chest. Ugh, and this hoglin is making life a little tricky. But yeah, you can see the piglin got me in the end. So what I was trying to say is that you could break the chest, and the act of breaking the chest and taking the items in it wouldn't have alerted the piglins, but now breaking the chest will alert all the piglins nearby. And that includes ones that are out of your line of sight, so ones that you can't see will even get angry. And while we're at this bastion, I should probably mention that there were lots of bug fixes regarding things inside of them not generating correctly, so your bastions should look a little better in this update. And it also says in this update that nether fortresses are going to be more common, so you just might find these a little more frequently in your nether world. There are a couple of changes to turtle eggs, so the bat mob was actually able to crush the turtle eggs if it were to fly on top of it. It can't do that anymore. And also, these turtle eggs will now be able to hatch on red sand. And if you have an enchanted shield that has a banner design attached to it, the glint effect will now go across the entirety of the shield. The bees have had issues with their pathfinding and them going into water, which they should do less in this update, and apparently they also would try and pathfind through a block gap like this. So that bee would be looking to escape even though it couldn't, and that has been corrected. There has also been some polish given to leads in the form of many bug fixes where the lead would appear at a different height to the mob, so the cat classically kind of appeared way above it, and the bee was another one of those mobs that the lead has been fixed for. And something you should know about snapshots and pre-releases is that they are experimental. Whenever you play on them, make sure to make backups. If you played in pre-release 1 and you ran into some issues, the game is going to attempt to recover worlds that were broken in pre-release 1. So if you had that issue, maybe try and load it up in pre-release 3 and hopefully you get lucky. So now I'd like to jump back to what I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, that there are two farm mechanics that are going to be changed in the future, and they're not going to be changed in 1.16. Thanks to this post from Slice Lime, one of the developers over at Mojang, we know what their plans are for the future, and I'm really grateful that they communicate to us in this way, because these changes make sense, and both of them are actually fixed in the update cycle of 1.16. Now, if you'd like to read that post for yourself, then there'll be a link to it in the description box down below. And yes, as I said, both of these things had been fixed. So the clip that you saw at the beginning of the video was Iskal's Golden XP farm, and I recorded that in pre-release too. But what Mojang have decided to do is take that bug that they fixed and another one out of this update and then implemented it in the future so that we have time and communication with them so we can change our farm designs. So here in the Nether Fortress we have two crossroads, and this would be a great location to build a farm because the bounding box is actually bigger than the shape that's generated. This means that you can build a platform that extends beyond the original shape of the Nether Fortress, and mobs will be able to spawn on here, and this obviously gives you a lot more spawning space for whatever farm you're designing. And so this first change is pretty easy to understand. In the future, whenever they choose to implement this, which they're going to communicate with us, the mobs won't be able to spawn in these platforms over here. They're only going to be able to spawn inside the actual shape of the Nether Fortress component. Now, there is a very buggy piece of code that we have been exploiting as a community for a long time with these absolutely amazing farm designs, but they are basically all based on a bug. The idea is that the shared anger means that these pigmen, when killed, not by the player, actually treat it like they have been killed by the player, which causes them to drop XP and gold and other things as well. So here we are in pre-release 3, and you can see this is actually working again because they're not going to change it in this update. But it is obviously a bug exploit, and Mojang are going to give us time before taking this out of the game, but it is a bug and it will be fixed in the future. And so to clarify just one more time, this is not changing in 1.16. And going back to the website and the blog post, there are technical changes in this update. Region files are now opened only in synchronous mode on Windows but not on other operating systems. And there's a couple of things here for clients and dedicated servers. And here's a couple of things I missed from the last update video. So we had changes to like anger and aggression. And if you were to attack one of these three mobs, they obviously tell their friends. But if you've got something like a Smite 5 sword, for example, and you one-hit kill them, that is not going to anger the other mobs. There is also a subtitle change for using your axe to strip logs. You can see it says axe scrapes. And now for some bug fixes in this pre-release. If you have a mob that is pathfinding somewhere and you teleport it somewhere else, it would have kept pathfinding to that location. So you can imagine a problem with teleporting it over long distances. That is no longer the case. You teleport it and it stops pathfinding. And here is a mob combination you're unfortunately not going to see again. It was actually possible for a baby Zomblin chicken jockey to summon on top of a strider naturally, and that will no longer happen. Breaking a nether tree stem will now count as punching wood in the game's tutorial. The nether portal block has now been given a loot table, which means you can manipulate it to, drop whatever you like with a data pack. And that's because it's technically possible to break it in survival mode. If you break that, it breaks that block, and now you can customize what it drops. And last of all, the recipes for netherite armor and netherite tools were appearing in the crafting book, despite only being usable inside of a smithing table. And so as I showed you in the beginning of this video, there were a massive amount of bugs, lots of little things like capitalization of letters, so I just picked out the best of them. And that brings us to the end of the video. If you've enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like, and if you're looking for something else to watch, make sure you've seen the latest episode of Hermitcraft. It will be linked on the screen. Anyway, that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.